All right, I'm going to continue reading from My Brother Sam is Dead. This is still chapter 1. I went out. The barnyard was muddy from the April rain. I jogged across it, trying to find the least muddy spots, and went into the barn. Old Prue mooed at me. She was tired of waiting to be milked. I got down the wooden bucket from its hook and started to milk her. It's a boring job and your hands get tired. I kept hoping Sam would come out so I could talk to him without the grown-ups around, but he didn't come. So I began to daydream about being older and going to Yale with Sam and scoring some telling points myself, and Sam being proud of me, even though I know that daydreams are sloth and sloth is a sin. And I got pretty far along in the daydream before Sam came in. He still had his uniform on. "Are you going to help me with the animals?" I asked. I wasn't going to, but Mother said that idle hands make the devil's work. "All right," I said. "You can pitch down some hay." "I'll get my uniform dusty," he said. He picked up a straw and leaned against the wall, picking his teeth. "I thought you were going to change." "I couldn't find anything else to wear," he said. "What a lot of swill. You just want to show off how famous you are." "Not at all, Tim. I'd have been pleased to help had I been able to find suitable clothes." I pointed old Prue's teat at him and gave him a squirt. Milk splashed on the knee of his trousers. "Damn," he said, jumping back. "You little brat." He wiped off his trousers. "Help, then," I said. "All right, I'll collect the eggs. What on earth happened to this basket?" I'd stepped on it once when I was mad. "It got broken," I said. "I can see that," he said. "How did you manage to do that?" "Old Prue stepped on it," I said. "Just put some hay in the bottom." "God, can't you do anything right, Tim?" "Don't curse," I said. "It's a sin." He picked up the basket. "How am I supposed to collect eggs with a hole in the basket?" "Stop complaining," I said. "I have to do this every night while you're down at Yale, scoring telling points and getting drunk with those girls." "You know I wouldn't do anything like that, Tim. Drunkenness is a sin." I giggled. What's the word for girls? Lasciviousness? Lasciviousness, stupid, not lasciviousness. I don't even know if I'm saying it right. I think Tim said lasciviousness, and then Sam corrected him. Okay, moving on. "I have a new song about girls, but it's too lascivious for you." So then he makes fun of the way he says it. "Please sing it to me," I begged. "No, you're too young." "No, I'm not. Besides, if you don't sing it to me, I'll tell Father how many times you got drunk." "Shh, all right, I'll sing it later," he said. "This basket is hopeless. Isn't there another one someplace?" "There's a new one hanging up over there, but we're not supposed to use it." "Why not?" Sam said. "What can they do to me?" I didn't like it when he talked like that. It bothered me. "Listen, Sam, why do you always have to get into a fight with Father?" "Why does he always have to get into a fight with me?" Sam said. He had got some hay in the basket and was hunting eggs under the hen roost. "That isn't fair. He pays for you to go to Yale and sends you money for books. You ought to be nicer to him." "You knew he'd get into a rage when he saw you in that uniform." Sam stood there staring at me with the broken egg basket in his arms, and I knew he was trying to decide whether or not to tell me something. I had enough sense to keep still. Sam pretty usually blurts things out if you pretend you're not interested and don't beg him to tell. I went on milking old Prue. Finally, he said, "Suppose I told you I had to wear the uniform for a reason." That gave me a shiver. "I don't believe it," I said. I did believe it, but the best way to get him to tell was not to get all excited. "It's true, Tim. I'm going to fight the lobsterbacks." That scared me, but it excited me too. I wondered what it would be like to shoot somebody. Still, I said, "I don't believe you, Sam." "Oh, you'll believe it soon enough. Tomorrow, I'm walking up to Wethersfield to meet my company. Then we're going up to Massachusetts to fight the lobsterbacks." I believed him all right. "Won't you be scared?" "Captain Arnold says it's all right to be scared. The true brave man is always scared. At least that's what the sergeant said," he said. "You seem to be pretty proud of Captain Arnold." "Oh, he's a marvelous horseman and brave and doesn't take any nonsense from anybody. He'll lead us through the lobsterbacks like a hot knife through butter." He started collecting eggs again. "You're really going to Massachusetts?" I asked. It seemed like a long way to me. "To Boston?" "I don't know exactly. I think we're supposed to go to Lexington, Sam said. An egg fell out through the bottom of the basket. Damn it, Tim, why don't you fix this thing? I did fix it, but it broke again. I didn't say it was a month ago and I was too lazy to fix it again. Laziness was sloth, and sloth was a sin. Tell me about the war, I said to change the subject. I told all I know at dinner. Why did you come home, I asked. He stopped hunting for eggs and stared at me again. Finally, he said, I can't tell you. Why not? You'll tell Father. No, I won't. I swear I won't. I shut my mouth. With Sam, it was the wrong thing to beg. Yes, you will. All right, don't tell me then. I don't care. I don't believe any of it anyway, I said. I had old Prue nearly empty and began stripping her teats to get the last drops of milk out, as if I'd forgotten all about what Sam was saying. He didn't say anything for a minute. Then he said, Will you really swear you won't tell? I thought you said you weren't going to tell me. All right, I won't, he said. I swear, I said. On your honor? Yes. This is serious, Tim. I swear on my honor. He took a deep breath. I came to get the brown Bess. That shocked me more than him saying he was going to fight. The brown Bess was the type of gun most everybody around Connecticut had. It was brown and got its name from Queen Elizabeth, whose nickname was Bess because they first used that type of gun a lot during her time. The gun was about as long as I was tall and had a bayonet around 20 inches long. Father kept the bayonet hanging over the mantelpiece. He used the brown Bess for deer and sometimes when he went out with the other men to go after a wolf that was getting into the livestock. And he took it with him every fall when he went over to Verplank's Point to sell cattle and buy supplies for the store. He'd never met up with any trouble going over to Verplank's, but people he knew had sometimes been held up and robbed. So you can see that the gun was important to us. It was one thing for Sam to say he was going to fight the British. They were a long way from here. But to take Father's gun was pretty bad. Father was right here, and he seemed a lot more real to me than the British did. Sam, you shouldn't do that, I said. I told you it was serious, Sam said. Now I wished he hadn't told me. You oughtn't to do it, Sam. Father'll kill you. If I don't have the gun, some lobsterback will kill me. Besides, it belongs to the family, doesn't it? I have as much right to it as anybody, don't I? I knew that was wrong, and I shook my head. It doesn't belong to the family. It belongs to Father. Neither of us said anything for a minute. Then Sam said, You swore, Timmy. You swore an oath. I wished I hadn't. I was afraid to go back on my oath, but I was just as scared of Sam stealing the brown Bess, too. Let's finish up with the stock and go to bed. I figured if we went to bed, he'd fall right asleep because he'd walked 30 miles up from New Haven that day. In the morning, we'd all have to go to church. It was the law to go to church on Sunday. And it would be hard for him to steal the gun with people milling around and coming over to the tavern the way they did after church. I finished milking old Prue. Sam took the eggs up to the house and came back, and we fed the stock and watered them. We didn't say much. I knew that Sam was sorry he'd told me, and I was thinking of ways to stop him from doing it. Finally, we were through. Let's go to bed, I said. All right, he said, go on up. I'll be up in a minute. I want to talk to Father. Please come right up, though. Don't worry, Tim. Just go on up to bed. I didn't want to leave him, but I knew there wasn't any use in arguing. So I said goodnight to Father and Mother, said some prayers, and went upstairs. There are 4 bedrooms on the 2nd floor of our house, where lodgers stay when we have them. We get a lot of people traveling through between Stratford and Danbury and Litchfield and Norwalk, or even going over to New York, and they need places along the way to sleep. Above the 2nd floor is the loft, where Sam and I sleep. There isn't much in it, just a couple of beds. There are no stairs up to the loft, just a ladder. I climbed up, not bothering to take a light. I knew where everything was. Besides, there are cracks in the floor which let little pieces of light through, so you can see a little if you have to. I undressed, got into bed, and pulled the blankets over me. I was always pretty tired by the time I went to bed, with all the chores I had around the tavern every day, but I wanted to stay awake to wait for Sam, so he could tell me some stories about telling points. To keep from falling asleep, I lay on my back, staring up at the black and watching the dots shift around in front of my eyes. But my eyes kept closing. So I began reciting all the books of the Bible from first to last, and I got somewhere around Obadiah before I fell asleep. When I woke up, somebody was shouting. I sat up in bed. It was Father. I couldn't hear the words, but I could hear the sound, his heavy, hard voice going on and on. Then there was Sam's voice, and he was shouting too, and then Father again. I got out of bed, climbed quietly down the ladder, and crouched by the top of the stairs. "You are not having the gun," Father shouted. "You are not going to Wethersfield, and you are going to take off that uniform right now if you have to go to church tomorrow naked." "Father, I will not have subversion. I will not have treason in my house. We are Englishmen. We are subjects of the king. This rebellion is the talk of madmen." "Father, I am not an Englishman. I am an American, and I am going to fight to keep my country free." "Oh God, Sam, fight? Is it worth war to save a few pence in taxes?" "It's not the money, it's the principle." "Principle, Sam? You may know principle, Sam, but I know war. Have you ever seen a dear friend lying in the grass with the top of his skull off and his brains sliding out of them like wet oats? Have you ever looked into the eyes of a man with his throat cut and the blood pouring out between his fingers, knowing that there was nothing he could do? In 5 minutes he would be dead, yet still trying to beg for grace and not being able because his windpipe was cut in two? Have you ever heard a man shriek when he felt a bayonet go through the middle of his back? I have, Sam. I have. I was at Louisburg the year before you were born. Oh, it was a great victory. They celebrated it with bonfires all over the colonies. And I carried my best friend's body back to his mother, sewed up in a sack. Do you want to come home that way? Do you think I want to hear a wagon draw up one summer's morning and go out to find you stiff and bloody and your eyes staring blank at the sky? Sam, it isn't worth it. Now take off that uniform and go back to your studies." "I won't, Father." They were silent. It was terrible. My heart was pounding and I could hardly breathe. "Sam, I'm ordering you." "You can't order me anymore, Father. I'm a man." "A man? You're a boy, Sam. A boy dressed up in a gaudy soldier's suit. Oh, he sounded bitter. "Father, go, Sam, go. Get out of my sight. I can't bear to look at you any more in that vile costume. Get out, and don't come back until you come dressed as my son, not as a stranger." "Father, go, Sam." There were sounds. I could hear Father breathing as if he had climbed a mountain. Then the door slammed. I was afraid Father would come up, so I slipped away from the top of the stairs and began to climb the ladder up to the loft. But then I heard some more sounds, some funny ones, sounds I'd never heard before. They puzzled me. I slipped back to the stairs and softly began to ease myself down them a step at a time. About 5 steps down, I could see into the tap room. Father had his head down on the table, and he was crying. I'd never seen him cry before in my whole life, and I knew there were bad times coming. That's the end of chapter 1.